Hey guys, a very good morning. It's Monday, and in today's market analysis we're going to be trading or analyzing euro dollar, Aussie dollar and pound dollar based on supply and demand. So hope you guys enjoy. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and with that said, let's dive straight in. So starting off with euro dollar on the daily time frame, euro dollar met that area of supply last week, which I mentioned and which I was looking for. So from here, I pretty much expect euro dollar to drop further down in towards the lows. If we look at this overall area of demand, so this sell before the buy, we can see that price tapped in towards there and moved out of it back up in towards the highs, grabbed liquidity above this high and has been, let's say, kind of chopping around, selling off very slightly. But I'm a big fan of supply now being hit, this pivot supply here on the daily time frame, and I do expect the market to head down lower very soon. An additional kind of confirmation that I have for this is pretty much just the price action that we're seeing. We're seeing this ascending corrective price action, and 8 out of 10 times what you'll see is that the price will sell off in towards the downside. So at the moment I am looking for a potential short. We of course have seen a daily break of structure. After daily break of structure, we expect a pullback in towards downside, especially after grabbing liquidity and moving with that ascending corrective price action in towards the highs and hitting that area of daily supply. Now looking at the 4-hour time frame, the 4-hour is slightly more choppy. What we can see is that we had this area of supply located over, or demand located over here, as we can see, pretty much got taken out, not really that fresh anymore. Afterwards, what we saw was pretty much that wick that we saw on the daily time frame over here, grab liquidity above all of the highs and price aggressively selling off in towards the downside. Now what I'm looking at is personally, or what I was looking at was the area of supply which was created over here. So pretty much this, let's say, range supply. So we've got that buy in towards the highs, range, sell off. Price comes back in towards this area of supply and then sells off once again. Especially if we refine it back up in towards this doji candle over here, we can perfectly see how the market came back up in, liquidated this high over here, and is or has been starting to sell off once again. So overall, the 4-hour is very bearish, rangy, excuse me. We're just ranging in between this high and ranging in between this low. Personally, I would love to see kind of like an impulse in towards the downside, breaking eventually this low over here and then looking for those further shorts in towards the downside. That is what I'll be looking for. Of course, if we break, let's say, these highs over here, then what I'll be looking for is to trade that pullback from either this area of 4-hour supply or this area of 4-hour supply, because those zones are still untouched or untapped. So overall, I am kind of looking for bearish setups on euro dollar, but I do expect euro dollar potentially to head up slightly higher in towards these areas of 4-hour supply, either this one or this one. But if we sell off further in towards the downside, then I'll still be more than happy to look for sells already. Do keep in mind that it is risky to look for, let's say, sells kind of like in here, because this is your swing range from this low towards this high. So inside of kind of like the discount, you never really want to be looking for sells. So I may be sitting on my hands when it comes to euro dollar, waiting for us to kind of like break and then look for shorts, or look for shorts once we kind of come in towards these higher zones over here or over here. So that is euro dollar. Let's head over to Aussie dollar. So Aussie dollar on the daily time frame. So what happened on Aussie dollar? We sold off in towards the downside, pretty much in line with what I was looking for, because of that price action that we were seeing. Of course, that ascending corrective price action, which I mentioned already for the last 2 weeks, sold off in towards the downside as expected. So beautiful price action. Looking at the daily overall, we are still bearish, with this being our swing high over here, this being our swing low. So we still expect price to move down lower, especially in towards, or at least in towards, this area of fresh demand. Now, looking at the 4-hour time frame, what can we see over there? Well, 4-hour is still very rangy. Overall, not seeing that much of interesting price action. Of course, remember what I mentioned, we had kind of like this trendline liquidity, which we have been taking out. I did take a long last week when we came in towards this fresh area of demand, so kind of like this short long, or for a short period of time I was in that long, but for the rest, yeah, order flow is just looking bearish for now. What we can see is that we of course had this area of supply over here, tapped in, sold off in towards the downside. Then pretty much what the market did was sell off. Then you kind of have like this entire buy over here, so buy up, sell off, and then kind of like a tap back in towards this overall kind of like box. That's the order flow, and then sold off further in towards the downside. So what I'm looking at the moment is for a potential retracement back up, kind of like in towards this range over here. before looking for any potential further downside from Aussie dollar. So that's what I'll be waiting for. Waiting for kind of like that tap up higher and then kind of like that sell off. At the moment, we're grabbing liquidity above these highs, so we could kind of like see a reaction. But yeah, personally not looking for any shorts as of now. Also not any longs because we don't have any areas of fresh 4-hour demand. So I'll be just waiting for us to tap in towards this supply zone and look for further downside. Of course, overall 4-hour swing structure is still bullish with this being your impulse up, but again, like I mentioned last week, this is just simply a liquidity grab. So probability of us moving up higher, also with the daily being bearish, is not that high. For the rest, yeah, we can just kind of see that the internal structure is still bearish, with this again being your internal break of structure. So we had this high, this low, this high, and now we have this low. So again, looking for kind of like that retracement up in towards at least, let's say, the premium of the overall swing range, and then look for a further sell-off in line with the internal structure on Aussie dollar. So yeah, this kind of like your first high probability zone. And then let's say we do move higher, then you can always look for sells from here. Yep, so that is Aussie dollar. Now pound dollar. So pound dollar, what do we expect? Well, I was kind of like looking for a further sell-off in towards downside, kind of grabbing liquidity underneath this trend line. As we can see, kind of like saw sell-off from this area of supply. Didn't take the trade from there because there was no entry. But overall, what we now have here on the daily time frame is this ascending. Oh, and that was not supposed to happen. But we have this ascending channel. So we have and I used to trade these a lot more, but we have this beautiful 1 2 3, so 1 2 and then a third tap. So I'm expecting a further sell off on pound dollar, also because we broke kind of like that daily high in a corrective manner. Also looking at the 4-hour, nothing really that interesting. So yeah guys, that is all for today. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I wish you all a fantastic day.